And the court will call the case of Don Wegner versus Maheshwar LLC, doing business as Gratiot View Motel. This is the time, date, and place set for hearing on plaintiff's motion for entry of default judgment. The court is proceeding remotely pursuant to administrative order from the Michigan Supreme Court. I may do so as long as I live stream the proceeding and make a verbatim record of the proceeding, which I am doing at this time. As you can see, my court reporter is present in the courtroom making a verbatim record of this proceeding. No one is allowed to make an unauthorized recording of this proceeding. If they do, they may be held in contempt of court. Counsel, if you would give your full appearance for the record and introduce your client as well.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Michael Jones on behalf of plaintiff Don Wegner, and Ms. Wegner is here with us via Zoom.
And good afternoon, Ms. Wegner. It's my understanding that you consent to proceeding remotely this afternoon. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Jones, I'm going to swear Ms. Wegner in, and then I will turn the floor over to you to begin your direct examination. Ms. Wegner, if you would please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give in this cause now pending is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Say I do.
I do.
And you may put your hand down, and ma'am, if you would state your full name for the record, spelling both your first and last names for my court reporter.
Dawn Marie Wagner. Dawn spelled D-A-W-N. Wagner is W-E-G-N-E-R.
The witness has been sworn in. You may take over the direct examination, Mr. Jones.
Ms. Wegner, I understand that you were at the Gratiot View Motel on September 29th, 2020. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you briefly tell the court what happened while you were at that motel?
Yes, the brief synopsis of the events. My mother and I were staying at the motel. It was that morning. I think it was maybe around 9 or 10 in the morning, and we were leaving the motel for the day to run some errands or appointments. I can't remember what, but I went to the ice machine room. It was a small room up by the front office of the motel. Just wanted to get some ice for our beverages to take with us, and I obtained the ice from the ice machine. And while leaving these kind of shed, I stepped on some concrete that was basically cracked, and it's basically sunk underneath my foot as I stepped on it, and my left ankle turned inward, and then I kind of fell outward towards my left side.
And EMS was called then, correct?
That is correct, yes.
You were having pain in your left
foot.
Mr.
Jones,
yeah.
Mr. Jones, I didn't understand your question. I didn't hear your question.
Okay. Just establishing the EMS, the emergency response, the ambulance came to the scene.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. And you had left foot pain, correct?
It was mainly in my ankle, but my foot as well, yes.
Hold on just for a second, Mr. Jones. We're having difficulties being able to hear you. It's like an echo. It's like you're, it's like the room you're in, it's producing an echo. The acoustics is just real bad on your end. I can hear Miss Wegner just fine. It's just you're echoing. So
okay. Let me. If I talk quieter, does that help the court?
Yeah, actually, and a little bit slower. That would help us as well.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
So the EMS arrived for left foot pain, correct?
Correct.
And then you were taken to Covenant emergency room.
Correct.
And do you know what the extent of your injuries were?
Yes, they diagnosed me with a bimalleolar fracture of my ankle with a dislocation, as well as I did have some abrasions on the top of my foot slash toes area, like the end of my foot and toes was involved with the abrasions from the fall.
Did that require surgery?
Yes, I was admitted to the hospital, and it was quite a process trying to determine the course of action as far as the treatment. It took several hours for them to determine which hospital was going to treat me. There was some discussion of sending me elsewhere for surgery, but eventually Dr. Chamberlain became involved, and he said he felt comfortable and confident that he would be able to perform the surgery involving a open reduction internal fixation as opposed to the external fixator. However, he did make me aware of the fact that there was a possibility of it requiring an external fixator, but he said he was going to try his hardest to not have to do that. And so I was admitted to the hospital, and I had surgery the next afternoon.
They put plates and screws into your leg.
Yes.
And do you remember the day you were discharged from the hospital?
October 13th.
And do you remember the EMS needing to come out to take you from the hospital to your home?
Yes.
Did you incur medical bills because of the EMS and the hospital visits?
Yes, there were quite a few. However, thankfully, my insurance did take care of it. I haven't received any other bills that I was required to pay out of pocket that I know of.
All right. But then on October 16th, you had another issue due to your broken ankle. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you needed to be transported back to the hospital.
Correct.
And the EMS took you.
Correct.
And the entire time you're non-weight bearing, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then you go to the hospital on October 23rd. EMS had to come to your house again because you were having difficulty getting off the couch due to your broken leg, correct?
Correct.
At some point, you needed a second surgery. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that would have been around November 22nd of 2021.
Yes.
Now, why did you need that surgery?
I was having great difficulty with the hardware in my ankle, with pain, swelling, difficulty with my range of motion, difficulty with my gait, had quite a severe limp. And I had done some research that suggested having the hardware taken out might help abate some of these issues. So they removed the plate, as well as they removed the majority of the screws. However, there is still some fragments of the screws in my one bone in my ankle.
And has the doctor opined about whether you may need surgery in the future for that?
He said, he did mention that I do have quite severe arthritis as a result, a result of the trauma. So that may need a scope at some time, but as of right now, there are no surgeries planned.
Your medical records seem to indicate that you had sutures removed on December 14th, 2021. Was that related to your broken ankle and the surgery?
Yes, it was.
Do you have any permanent scarring?
Yes, I do. It's quite unsightly, and I'd say it's pretty severe.
And the most recent medical record that I reviewed was on April 26th of this year. Do you remember being evaluated by Dr. Chamberlain?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember what your pain was even at that time for your ankle?
At that time, I was dealing with some cellulitis in my ankle that was right in the site of the incision scarring. It was undetermined what exactly caused it. However, it may have been from a very minor cat scratch on my ankle, but again, we weren't sure exactly what caused it. But yes, I developed some quite severe pain and swelling in the ankle, as well as redness. And that I did go to the ER, and they advised me to follow up with Dr. Chamberlain.
Today, are you still feeling physical pain in the ankle?
Yes, I have pain every day in my ankle and lower leg. It fluctuates, it does come and go, but it is there every single day of my life.
How old are you?
I am 38.
Can you describe for the court the physical suffering this has caused for you?
Yes, 1 second. Let me pull up my notes here that I have written down.
Would looking at those notes refresh your memory as to the physical suffering this has caused you?
Yes. Okay. I do have quite a few things written down, so I will just start from the beginning. I was very nauseous prior to the surgery. It was delayed for several hours because at some point they determined I needed a pregnancy test, so it was delayed for several hours. After the surgery, I was severely constipated. I was basically confined to the hospital bed for the whole duration of my hospital stay because I was non-weight bearing. So I was constantly sore and stiff and achy due to not being able to move around properly. I was unable to do my proper bathing and hygiene for months following the surgery due to being non-weight bearing, and this place we were staying was not handicap accessible, so I was not able to access the bathroom to do hygiene. So I was forced to basically do like a bird bath at the kitchen sink with absolutely no privacy. The suffering from the constant pain. Having to go through the second surgery due to all of the symptoms. When I was brought home from the first hospitalization, due to the place where I was discharged and the non-weight bearing, basically I had to be carried into the house by the EMT and several firefighters on what's basically a large tarp with some handles. That was terribly uncomfortable, as well as absolutely mortifying being carried into the house that way. And unable to sleep or get comfortable for weeks after the hardware removal. The cellulitis has the antibiotics I was placed on for the cellulitis have caused me pretty severe and extreme digestive issues, which I am still in the process of trying to get a diagnosis and treatment for that. At this point, I'm basically on a medication that's kind of a Band-Aid until I can see the digestive care doctors. And also, while I was convalescing from the injury, I did have COVID, which was exacerbated due to my mobility status, and I did develop pneumonia. Thankfully, I was not hospitalized. I was able to stay home, but it was very difficult to try and recover from COVID while dealing with my leg. And also, this happened while we were unfortunately homeless, so that was very difficult as well. That's the reason we were staying at the motel to begin with. And And to sum it up, basically, the hospital wasn't sure where to send me. They tried for quite a while to send me to rehab, and none of the rehabs were willing to accept me as a patient due to my homeless status. They were concerned that once I was needing to be discharged from the rehab, they wouldn't have anywhere to send me, so they didn't feel comfortable taking me as a patient. So they sent me to what was basically a step down from an adult foster care. It's called an independent living home, which ended up being completely inappropriate. It was not handicap accessible. It had stairs up the front that were completely impossible for me to get up. So I was essentially trapped in the house without extreme assistance getting into the house with the EMTs, or my brother was able to help somewhat to get me up the stairs, but it was extremely difficult. And I think that's pretty
And
much that.
your past medical bills, those total $1,000 to $98,203.
Mr. Jones, you broke up. I didn't hear the first part of what your question.
Your past medical bills total $98,203.63, correct?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
You believe that you're probably going to need about $5,000 per year in medical expenses for the rest of your life related to your leg?
Yes, I would say so.
With that, Your Honor, if you have any other further questions of me or the client, I'd be happy to answer them or to sum this up for you.
All right, I have no additional questions. The record will reflect that the defendant in this matter has been provided with a proper notice of the proceeding. We appeared the last time here in court. The defendant failed to appear after given an opportunity to respond to this plaintiff's motion for entry of default judgment. So, Mr. Jones, you may proceed with your argument as to the amount of damages.
Yes, Your Honor. As Ms. Wagner testified, that her medical bills are $98,203.63. She believes that she's going to need $5,000 a year. Her normal statistical life expectancy is 85.5 years, and that means that she's going to have $237,500 in future medical expenses. That brings her total past and future medical to $335,703.63. That has been paid by Medicaid and Medicare, and they will likely be seeking reimbursement. So that's going to have to be paid back by Ms. Wagner. In addition to that, you've heard about the humiliation. This happened while she was homeless. No privacy, being forced to live in these environments that are not suitable for her handicap. She's asking for a past and future non-economic damage award of $2,664,296.37, and that would bring the total judgment to $3 million.
What was the amount of the past and future non-economic?
$664,296.37.
All right, of course, going to take a brief recess and I'll be back out shortly.
Thank you.
So, or just step out.
Yeah, do you? Oh, okay. We got time. Okay.
Court is now back in session.
Right, so back on the record in the case of Don Wegner versus Gratiot View Motel. Based upon what the court has heard here today, the court is going to grant the requested relief. Defense counsel, or rather defendant has failed to appear for purpose of this motion for entry of default judgment. So the court, based upon the testimony of Ms. Wegner, is going to grant the request for past and future medical in the total amount of $335,703.63. Plus, the court is going to grant past and future non-economic damages in the total amount of $2,664, or rather $2,664,296.37 for a total amount of $3 million. Mr. Jones, have you prepared a proposed order conforming to this court's ruling from the bench?
I believe so, Your Honor. Give me 1 second and I will confirm. I'm not seeing one, but I can submit one today.
Okay, and if you would email my judicial assistant, Ms. Wise, at A as in Adam, M as in Mary, Wise, all lowercase, common spelling of Wise, at SaginawCounty.com.
amwise@saginawcounty.com.
Correct.
Okay, and county is spelled out completely.
That is correct.
Okay, I will send that over today, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Very well. Any questions, Mr. Jones, or anything further for the record before we conclude?
Nothing from plaintiffs.
And Ms. Wegner, any questions?
No, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Time now is 3:51 p.m. Everyone have a good week.